In this video, we are going to talk about slope, average rate of change, and, sorry I missed it, the difference quotient, and how to do problems using all three. So remember, my slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Average rate of change, again, it's just slope, but it's looking at it as points on a function. So that is going to be f of b minus f of a compared to the difference in your inputs, which is b minus a. And the last one is difference quotient, where your 2 points are evaluated based on the input x and a distance of h units away from that x. So the difference quotient is going to be your f of x plus h minus f of x over h. Now, if any of these two new ones are unclear, go back and check the last video. This tells you how we get them and what they're and how they're interpreted. All right, so let's look at some problems. The first ones we're going to look at are asking for the average rate of change. So what we have here is a function f of x. Now, it's not asking you to graph, but it's a good idea to look at it and figure out, okay, what do I know about this? I know that we've got a parabola with a vertex at 0, -2. And we want to know what is the average rate of change. That's not a real that's not a real abbreviation. It's just mine. From x is -2 to x equals 1. So this would be f of 1 minus f of -2 over 1 minus -2. Remember that this is coming from your average rate of change formula, f of b minus f of a over b minus a. So simplifying here, f of 1, what do we get when we plug it in? We get 1 squared minus 2 minus -2 squared minus 2 over 1 plus 2. Again, simplifying, we get 1 minus 2 minus 4 minus 2 over 3. What can we simplify here? So this is really 2. So we get 1 minus 2 minus 2 and 3, which gives me a -3 over 3, which is an average rate of change of -1. Now let's look at this. Doesn't this make sense? If we're plugging in -2, so my x is -2, so that makes it 4 minus 2 or 2. So at -2 over here, we should be at -2, +2. At +1, when we plug it in here, we'll be at 1 minus 2 or 1 -1. A line that connects those two is going to have a negative slope. So my slope is equal to -1. That actually makes sense. Okay. The question also asks for the secant line of the line that connects those 2 points on your graph. So you can see here we've got the slope. Either one of these points works to find the actual equation. I'm going to put it in another page here. So if we take those values, we found a slope that was equal to -1. We found Sorry, I lost it, x squared minus 2. Let's just copy that down. X squared minus 2. Let's just pick one of them. Let's pick the 1. So if we find my f of 1, plugging it in, 1 minus 2 would give me negative 1. So now I've got a point, 1, negative 1. I have a slope, y minus negative 1 equals negative 1, x minus 1. Y plus 1 equals negative x plus 1, or y equals negative x. So there's the equation of your secant line. All right, next question. Now, again, we're given a function. We're looking for the average rate of change from x equals 2 to 5. Let's do this algebraically first, and then we're going to take a reality check and verify our results. So again, my average rate of change is that f of b minus f of a over b minus a. So my b is going to be my 5, my a is going to be my 2, and we figure it out. So plugging in the 5, g of 5 is going to be equal to negative 4 times 5 plus 1, oops, too many parentheses, sorry, equals negative 20 plus 1 gives me a negative 19. So I've got 1 point here of 5, negative 19. My second point of 2, so we get negative 4 times 2 plus 1 is going to give me negative 7. So my second point is 2, negative 7. So I've got negative 19 minus negative 7 over 5 minus 2. This is going to give me a negative 12 over 3, or negative 4. So that's my average rate of change. Again, algebraically, let's figure out the equation of my secant line, if I've got enough room here. So we've got y minus negative 7 equals my slope of x minus 2. So y is going to be equal to negative 4x plus 8 minus the 7 from the other side, and y is equal to negative 4x plus 1. Now, what's going on here? So I've got g of x is equal to negative 4x plus 1, and y is equal to negative 4x plus 1 is the secant line. So what's happening? This actually makes sense because g of x is a line. Negative 4x plus 1 is going to be something like this. Now, the values that we plugged in, we got 2, everything's gone, 2, negative 7, and 5, negative 19. So we've got 2, positive 7, sorry. So it was 2, positive 7. All right, sorry about that, you guys. I'm trying to make it really simple and I'm forgetting things. Like, where is my stuff? There we go. 2's not over here, 2's over here. So we've got 2, negative 7, and 5, negative 19. Now, any points that we find on this graph are going to be on this line. So we've got negative 4x plus 1. Any 2 points, this point, is going to have a slope that's equal to negative 4. It's going to have an equation of negative 4x plus 1. So if you've got a linear function, your secant line is just going to be that function. All right, let's go on to the difference quotient. So remember, my difference quotient is my f of x plus h minus f of x over h. Now, you don't have to memorize this as long as you remember that what you're looking at is your x, and then the second point is going to be a distance of h away from x. So if you know that this is point x, f of x, this is going to be point x plus h, and f of x plus h. And then all you need to know is slope in order to get that formula. So again, you can look back at the previous video to understand where the difference quotient is coming from. This is for the algebra. So f of x plus h, I'm going to plug in x plus h and substitute it for what was the x, plus 3. Now my x becomes x plus h again, minus 2, minus my f of x, negative x squared plus 3x minus 2. Again, remember your parentheses, make sure that you're doing what you want it to do. And then we divide everything by h. So a little bit of simplifying in here. Negative x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. Distributing the 3, 3x plus 3h minus 2 plus x squared minus 3x plus 2, and then we divide that whole thing by h, which we'll take care of in a minute. I'm going to try to do this in one step, so try to stick with me. When we distribute this, this becomes a negative. So we've got a negative x squared and a positive x squared. They're going to go away. We've got a negative, where am I? I've got a positive 3x, sorry, positive 3x and a negative 3x. So that's going to go away. I've got a negative 2 and a positive 2. So everything that's left is a negative 2xh minus h squared plus 3h divided by h, which gives me negative 2x minus h plus 3. Putting in this in some kind of order. When you're putting a polynomial in order, you want to choose one variable. Typically our input is x, so we're going to put it in order of the x, which means we're going to have, sorry, putting in another page, negative 2x plus 3 minus h. So that's your difference quotient, and we're going to look at it for particular values of x and h. So at x equals 1, we're going to look at h is equal to, we're only going to pick a couple. Let's just do, h is equal to 1 and h is equal to 1/2. So at x equals 1, we're going to plug in the 1 for the x and the 1 for the h. So we get negative 2 plus 3 minus 1 would give me 0. Now remember, the difference quotient is slope. So what this is saying is the secant line from x equals 1 to x equals 1 plus 1, this is your x, this is your h, has a slope of 0, which means it's a horizontal line. Now, if we get closer to the x, my x is still 1, my h is 1/2. So we've got -2 plus 3 minus 1/2, which is going to give me a positive 1/2. So again, that's saying that the secant line from x equals 1 to x equals 1.5 has a slope of 1/2. Remember, as your h gets smaller and smaller and smaller, so as h approaches 0, think about that. What's going to happen is we are going to get this value as h approaches 0. This is going to end up being the slope of that tangent line. All right, did I set up another one? Oh, we did get one more. So let's look at difference quotient for 1 over x. So f of x plus h. Another way to do this is to do your values separately. So let me do that one here. So f of x plus h is going to be 1 over x plus h. F of x is obviously 1 over x. Actually, this one wasn't too hard to do together. So 1 over x plus h minus 1 over x over h. Lots of fractions to simplify. So we need a common denominator. Common denominator, we'll multiply this one by x over x. This one by x plus h over x plus h. This is going to give me x minus x plus h over x times x plus h, and then we'll divide everything by h from there. So simplifying, x minus x plus h, this is going to give me a negative h over x times x plus h. Remember, we're going to divide that by h, which means we multiply by 1 over h, which gives me a negative 1 over x times x plus h. So if x is equal to 1, let's just keep h equal to 1/2 for this one. We'll have negative 1 over 1 times 3 over 2. So we get negative 1 over 3 over 2, which gives me a negative 2/3 for the slope. All right, so again, this is just super algebra, plugging stuff in and simplifying. The important thing to remember in all of these is that they're the same. Slope, average rate of change, secant, the difference quotient, finding the slope of the secant line, they're all just referring to slope.